Boom, bada boom, boom, boom. And we are here. Ian, how are you, man?
Here. I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited to talk about all of the things that are happening in Austin.
Yep. I feel like I rode the short bus here. There we go.
Yeah, man.
There we go. Okay, better. All right. So, Real Amigos, we are here day 497 on Real Amigos.
At least.
Yeah. Where are you tuning in from? We want to hear from you. There's a lot of things happening in the Austin market. My camera is not right. Look at that. I'm off. It's like this.
I look taller than you, and we know that's not real.
Yeah. Well, it's an optical illusion for you, my guy.
Oh, hold on. I lift my desk up.
There we go. All right. Don't worry, everybody. We can start now. Aaron's here. So, Ian, I want to go through. I got some topics, my guy.
Okay.
Here's my topics. You tell me what you think.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Northline project. There's a movement on that.
Yeah.
Whataburger. Big things happening at Whataburger here in the Austin area. I want to get people.
I'm interested about that. I actually don't know about that. So.
Oh, it's big news. Big breaking news.
Okay.
And then we're going to go through, there's an article out through Austin Business Journal. And this is kind of where the title of today's video is, talking about kind of what they're doing as far as economic growth in the future, the things that are hampering Austin. Where's the growth going to be from? So I'm excited about that. And then I had one other one. Oh, there's a new community being built. And we'll talk about that one as well. So if anybody's down for that, let me know in the chat. If not, if you're just want to, if you guys just want to do Q&A all night and have fun and drink like we used to in the good old days before people said I drank too much, which happened on the channel when we were during COVID. Topo Chico, baby. All right, here we go. So, first of all, Ian, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room, being that our event is pretty much sold out.
For Friday.
Yeah,
good. I don't know if everybody knows what this event is you're referring to.
Yes. Why don't you tell them about it, Ian?
So we've got a couple things going on. A lot of people are flying in to the Austin area from all over the country. And when I say a lot of people, I'm talking big names. We have Jimmy Mackin, the CEO of Curator. We have Monica Church, who's been on the channel. She has millions of subscribers across multiple YouTube channels. We have Tammy Price talking about Google My Business. So here's where this is important. If you are in a business that's real estate adjacent or just a business at all, and you want some knowledge that can arm you to be prepared for the future, any business, learning how to use Google, learning how to leverage AI in your business. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about at this event. Lana Rodriguez, Will Draper. If you don't know these names, you should. We're really excited. They're really excited. It's going to be one heck of an event in Austin. More.
All right. Sorry. I just cannot get the right height tonight, man. My chair's not tall enough. Steven says, what up? Good to see you, Steven.
Bedridden.
Bedridden, yeah. That's not good, man. What are you doing over there?
Is it with the vid?
Well, yeah, it's going around. I tried. We canceled a podcast not too long ago because I had the virus. VIP boat party, yes. So VIP boat party, we aptly named it Boats and Bows for real estate.
Yeah, Boats and Buns wasn't going to go over very well, so we had to change it.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Let me jump in here. So Ian told you about that. What else is going on, man? Dude, this market's so amazing. It's funny because I keep seeing everybody really like hating on the Austin market, crying about the Austin market all at the same time. I see a lot of opportunity coming up in the future, really. And what's interesting is, what's that? There's that saying is that the time you make money when everybody's in tears or something like that. I don't know. I totally butchered that. But we were on the live stream last week and I was looking at the numbers and I was bewildered of how many homes under 400K there were available. It made me want to, because I hadn't looked. Like I just, we get busy. We do things in real estate. We have clients, but I hadn't actually sat down and looked at the number of homes that were under 400. I'm still shocked that we had that many just sitting there.
Yeah, that's a lot of houses when people were saying that's what they needed. Right. So people were saying, I need these houses at less than 400. That's my budget. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an investor, if you're a first time buyer, people wanted that price point. And the price point is here. Interest rates are causing pause.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a strange market. Strange market. Didn't we have an uptick last week in mortgage applications? How's that this week?
It's down 2.9. That was one of the things that we could have talked about was mortgage application was down 2.9. But so mortgages, and I could pull this up if I wanted to. I don't want to go grab it, but we are down to 1996 levels of mortgage applications. And back then the interest rate, I think, was like 12% or something crazy like that in 1996. Yeah. So it's crazy how far we've gone back into the 1990s with people. But look, 7.26, 7.21 is where rates are at today. I don't blame people for not wanting to buy. And on top of that, like if you have cash, I mean, this is great. If you have cash, this is great. I like this comment by Aaron.
Or if you have equity and you want to leverage that equity to purchase, right? Similar.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about the market right now is I keep seeing stats and, I'll pull up the BAM stats. Forget it. I'll pull up the BAM stats right now. But Broke Agent had done this morning, Broke Agent Media, and they had gone through all of the stuff. I mean, if Broke Agent, the hot sheet is really more for realtors, but it's just kind of like information for realtors because a lot of realtors, believe it or not, don't know very much. It's because they just don't pay attention. They have 100 other things to do. Let me zoom in on this. Get rid of this. So, no, don't know how to get.
Speaking of, I don't know that I mentioned it earlier, but the Broke Agent and Byron Lazine from Broke Agent Media will both also be at the event on Friday. So again, they're focused heavily on the real estate market, and but on the other side of it, they talk about building a brand. So if you do have a business and you want to get in, you can hit up either of us. We've got our Instagram handles on the screen.
How do you get rid of this stupid sidebar? Okay. All right. Here we go. Forget it. So here's what he was showing is that homeowners that were locked into historically low rates are unlikely to leave their homes. Obviously, we've talked about that, but this is the chart that I wanted to show you. So Americans sitting on tremendous equity, 68.7% have paid off their mortgage or have at least 50% equity. That is a high amount of people that have equity in homes. I know I personally have properties that I'm renting currently. And I have a client right now that's getting ready to buy a home, but they have so much equity in the house and a 2.2 interest rate. They're not going to sell the other one. They're just going to buy the new home. But I mean, what are your thoughts in the chat about this? You're looking at, I mean, I haven't owned homes free and clear, but 30%, so mortgaged homes with less than 50% is a very small amount. So between,
I'm curious how many
greater than 50%. Sorry, it's 30.
How many of these people have more than one property? Because that's going to be a factor, right? And then how many of them have the ability to pay them off, but just haven't done it? Right? Like those are two variables that we can't see here, right? So if one person has, 7 properties, let's say, how are they rolled into these numbers? And then also if they have the cash to be able to pay them off, but they just choose not to for whatever reason.
You know what I think we should do is we should put when we do this in the future, we should do not a recorded line, but a call-in line so people can actually call in.
I love it.
And because Aaron's got a hot topic he wants to. The reason I didn't do that in the past is sometimes this chat would get pretty rowdy.
Yeah, I mean,
so I was afraid.
After that,
and but I want to go back to this that Aaron had, and so this is a prime example of what you're talking about. Americans are sitting on a tremendous amount of equity, so that's why we don't see as much listings. Now, I think we're going to see a lot of listings in the beginning part of the year. So right now in Austin, we're sitting around 12,000 units on our MLS, and we go up about 300 units and those drop off. You have people that, unlist their house, but we're running into that time of the market where people are going to start pulling their homes off the market because we're running into the, Christmas season. If a lot of these homes don't actually sell, we're going to see even more inventory at the beginning of next year. So the
Well,
question I have, a lot of my sellers have is, do I just list it now and take the lower price, or do I try to sell it in the spring and get a better price? If we have a lot of this hangover inventory going into next year, that's what we had this year, I think prices will stay pretty flat. Now, the problem is if interest rates dive in November, which they could, I think you'll see November, December is going to be crazy months where people are like, let's say they get down to 6.5%. I think you have a lot of people come back in the market. And that goes to this point right here that Aaron's making. I was watching some research that was done. It talked about how millennials are rich, but there are two groups: the ones that embrace take, and some that got left behind. So probably take advantage of the market. And I think that's the problem. When we see in the comments, people that are like super angry and whatever in the comments about real estate, I think the reality is they're mad because they lost out. They're hoping for a crash, and realistically prices have come down, but it's not a crash yet. I mean, you got to define what a crash is, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. When we were doing that event and we had David there from TNT Title talking, his big thing was, we're looking at a potential soft landing, was his phrasing.
That's right.
And I really liked that, because it's not a heavy impact. A lot of the businesses, the CEOs of companies have decided that, you know what, we're not mass laying off like we did in 2008. We're taking it a little slower because we have more equity or cash reserves ready to go. We have good talent. We don't want to just shed it. We realize that that didn't work. That wasn't the right answer. So they're taking it a little bit slower, but because of that, our unemployment numbers don't match what the Fed needs to see to lower our interest.
Yeah. So one of the things that he was speaking about too, thanks for bringing that up. So we did an economic update with David Tandy. He's economist for a title company out here. One thing that he was saying about that was that in 2008, why we saw so many people mass lay off is there was all of this talk of, oh, great recession. This is going to be a great recession. And people were almost fear-mongered in, businesses were fear-mongered in to firing people. And then they had a really tough time hiring those same people back, because then they could go get a job somewhere else. But there's a lot of people, no way, I'm not discounting. There's a lot of people that were laid off looking for jobs for a while. But what he was saying is the hysteria of it, they fired too many people at once. And he said that, businesses are trying, to Ian's point, trying not to do that this time, but there are definitely headwinds that we're facing. And that's where he got to the soft landing part.
You got to think about the mentality of CEOs and leaders in business that had been there from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. It's very different than the leaders of today. And so at that point, everything was Glengarry Glen Ross. What, right? Like, you're not good enough? Just cut it. Stop it. And so you just have a completely different thought process with handling it today. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it can be quite different, different age, different demographic, different thought patterns than we had before. Yeah.
I'm not laughing at you. This comment that Steven wrote just fired off something in my brain. And to say that I trust the government is like saying that I don't. So this comment made me think of a couple of things. So Steven says the amount of equity varies by demographic. Older folks with more equity than loan amount, millennials and first-time home owners with more financing than equity. And it made me think of this. Recently, so we are getting to that age where we're probably going to see a hefty amount or a good amount of the baby boomers phase out and do what people do when they get older. So you have baby boomers hold the most amount of wealth right now.
Very much
So
so.
once we see a lot of these baby boomers really start to move on from life,
Elevate,
you're going to see a lot of generational wealth start to be handed down. One thing I've noticed is our governments recently really trying to go after what is that? Not generational wealth, but when it gets passed down, probate. They've gone after the wealth tax, not the wealth tax, but when death tax, right? So they want to change the rules, and it's starting to make a lot of sense in my brain why they're going after it now is because they know there's so much money they can take in taxes in the future. That's just my conspiracy brain going off. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but you tell me if I'm wrong by thinking that.
No, it makes a lot of business sense, right?
Yeah.
And that's all the government is a business for the United States, right? So them focusing on how they can get in and profit from whatever situation is happening, which we know that we're having a lot of future expirations. It makes sense from their standpoint as a business,
right? To make it sound like, oh, we're going after the wealthy people. We have to go get all this inheritance tax. All this inheritance is the word I was looking for. Inheritance money.
The real question is that going to drop our debt?
No, I mean, look at Austin. They just found a new way to spend the money. I mean, we raised our budget from 5 billion to 5.5 billion. And there's a lot of pork that was in that new budget. I mean, there's only like one city council member who would vote against it. Mackenzie, her last name's not Phillips, Mackenzie Kelly. And she even said there's a lot of pork in this, and that wasn't what they were trying to go for. But Aaron says, let's talk about the market. Let's talk about what the market would be at if COVID had ever happened. Let's take a property like I paid $235 for it. Is it worth $240 now? Multiply the price with compounding interest. So this is one thing we just talked about in that David Tandy thing we did. So Austin went up about 40% and it's down 17% from the peak. So if you look at that, Austin is usually about a 6 to 9% appreciation year over year. So in those 3 years, let's say we'd had on average just 6% appreciation, 6%, 6%, 6%. I know you don't just add them up, but That's 18%. We're still at about 10% per year appreciation versus our 6 to 9% that we typically would have been. So we're kind of on track, but I think we're still a little inflated, and that's why people are waiting to buy. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out who this is that just came in. But yes, so prices are still a little inflated because we're still higher than where we would have been even had COVID never happened. We're doing well according to the economic forecast and historic economic history that David had presented. We're doing all right. The numbers haven't reflected a drop or a crash.
Yeah.
Even though it seems dire because people are like, oh, 17% negative now. It's like, no, it's not negative. If you bought it 5 years ago, you're winning. You're still winning. The question is, will it continue in that trend? Right? That's what we don't know.
Yeah. So Aaron's question was, if you paid $235 back in like 2019, would it be worth $300K now? And I think that'd be pretty close. Yeah. But what we saw is people go buy a $235 house and sell it for $400. So that's pretty big. I mean, if you go 40% up there, those transactions in the market are either for new builds, cash buyers, or those selling with a lot of equity and can afford to relocate. First-time home buyers struggling hard. He's arguing with you, Aaron. Get him, Aaron. Argue in the comments.
You know, we used to have USDA loans and stuff around here. That's all gone. We're getting VA stuff back, so that's good. So first-time home buyers that have served or have direct descendants of vets, like that's doing okay. Yeah.
So Steven says, and so Steven, man, you're all over it tonight, bedridden and just hammer in the comments. I appreciate it. Most research indicates that there's a 6 million supply shortage. Inventory is still hella low. That's a California term for my friends not aware of what hella means. Compared to the pandemic, a crash does not seem realistic with supply so suppressed. And I agree. I think the problem Austin's facing is we finally had a little bit of supply, and people that should have been selling. Like, here's the thing. All the inventory that we have right now, had it shifted to 18 months ago, maybe a little 24 months ago, we wouldn't have seen prices go as dramatic as they did. We'd probably be at the same spot, really, without a huge increase and a huge decrease.
Yeah, exactly what you're saying, Stephen. That's absolutely the rhetoric that everyone is peddling right now.
And I'm just going to mess your name up. So I'm going to say That's what I said. I said, I'm going to mess your name up if I say the whole thing fat. You see, you cut me off, Ian. Just kidding. Can you do an episode on demand for building land in a range of 1/2 acre to 1 acre? I mean, we could talk about that.
Yeah.
What is your question on demand on the buy side or the sell side? That's the question. And straight to voicemail says, I'm back, baby. I missed my 2 favorite Austin real estate agents. Remind me where I can buy overpriced 160-degree days. Love you, boys. Appreciate you.
Right here. You can buy them right here. Everywhere around here. It's hot.
Yeah, it's not that like everybody's complaining about the weather. What's funny is I think we're seeing a lot of fair weather Californians leave. I know, and I'm not calling my clients fair weather Californians, but I have quite a few clients that bought early 2020, and a lot of them are reaching out to me to list their homes now, but they didn't all move from California. I think maybe one of the 4 that we're going to be listing, one did. But so what you're starting to see, and this is what happens. People move every 5 to 6 years. And so we're getting close to that 5-year mark. And with getting close to that 5-year mark, you're going to see a lot of those people that not necessarily FOMO'd, but thought they had to get in right away, which, I mean, look, who knew the market could have kept going if we didn't see, if the Fed had not jumped in and started, raising the Fed rate and doing what they've done. Plus, if inflation hadn't been as out of control, then yeah, maybe prices would have kept going. I did your comment, bro. So it's 350. So here, let's go back. Let's go back to Aaron's question so we can timeline this. Let me talk about the market. Let's talk about what the market would be if COVID had never happened. Let's take a property I paid $235 for. It was worth $240. So you paid $5,000 below instant equity, as they say. Now multiply that price by compounding interest. It would be worth $300K, right? And that's off of 6% interest or 6% appreciation. So is a $350K 3-bed, 2-bath, a 1,700 square foot really that overpriced when it would be $300? It's time in the market, not timing the market. 100% agree. 100% agree. I mean, even now, like let's say this. Let's say if you bought a house right now, and let's say the market does go down 10%. I'm not saying it will. I'm not going to say it's going to continue to go down another 10%, but I'm just saying hypothetically, you bought it now. Say you buy a house. Oh, and I pulled the numbers on this, Ian. The median for single family homes in Austin is 625. Single family, non-single family was Austin proper was 625. The median for everything together was 5. What are we talking? Austin proper was 575. Now, last month they came out and said the median with everything was 550.
Yes.
And I showed that it was at 585 on my end. So that information tells me that the next month is going to show a 540 number. So when August numbers come out, we're going to be at 540. That because they're usually just way off from the numbers I pull for some reason. Fed screwed the economy, keeping rates low too long. That I don't disagree with.
Agreed. Yeah.
The reason I bring it up, we are close to the bottom. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you haven't paid attention or know who Aaron is, Aaron did buy a home with Ian. Look at that. Aaron, way to go, bud. Buying homes with one of us. Appreciate that. So Aaron has bought multiple investment properties, and he is high on the real estate supply, my friends. And so as a savvy investor, he is someone who really pays attention to the market and pays attention to investing. I personally just bought an investment property recently in the last 2 months. So I'm still buying properties. I got a killer deal on it because I had cash. So cash is still king. One example I saw for Old Torf and Lamar for a 1,800 square foot condo, asking $699 appraised by county at around $920. This is the problem. Homestead, non-homesteaded, that property tax will be a quite impact on the payment. This is the biggest problem in the city. Just is killing me when it comes to this. So I was talking to a good friend of mine who owns a lot of land in Austin. And we were talking about how there's a development literally going. So a place that we hog hunt, I'll show it in a second. They're literally building a neighborhood across the street from the 125 acres he owns that we do hog hunting. The hogs come, it's funny, the hogs come straight over from the waste management plant. Okay. So waste management is right there. Anyway, he was talking to the developers that are developing that land, and they go, yeah, it's crazy that the city doesn't understand. They're so far backlog on approving or not approving plans for different developments, neighborhoods, all of this stuff, that it's costing the homeowner per lot an additional $15,000 per lot. It's not that the developer was trying to raise that money. The developers got to cover their costs. It's costing the developer more money because the city of Austin's ineptitude, that they're having to actually pay more. So the city of Austin instead is just trying to raise property taxes. So the CAD came out and raised these properties astronomical in the taxes, making it unaffordable in the tax sector. On top of that, they're making it unaffordable for developers to develop in the Austin area affordably. But then they want to subsidize and take taxpayer dollars to pay to subsidize and to make affordable housing, which is just rentals on their end. It's not for people to own homes. I think the whole point of this channel and what we've done, Ian, you correct me if I'm wrong, is to help people gain wealth by one way to gain wealth is to own properties, but we don't want you just to go buy a property. I know a lot of people think us realtors just want you to go buy a property. No, we want you to make a good financial decision every time. Ian.
To clarify, there are people out there that do want you to just buy property so that they can benefit from it. We
100%.
have done
Not
everything
not
that
yet.
we can.
I was saying you and I.
Of course.
Yeah.
No. We've done everything we can to be as transparent based on the knowledge that we have, the experience that we have, the conversations that we have, to give you the best information to make an informed decision. There's a lot of stuff happening, and there has been for the last few years. We both found things that have been communicated that are obviously flawed. And so we call those out when we see them. And yeah, I still think that Austin, and we'll go over this a little bit later. I still think Austin has some strong growth potential, being nestled where it is. And we do want people to, if they're in the right situation and they want to be homeowners, I still think that that is a very strong proposition if you want to gain wealth long-term over time.
100%. And this is just continuing what Steven says. The county assessments should be more on the conservative side, not significantly above market price at the peak of the demand of last year. Ridiculous. Can't care about affordability and do that to locals. That's what they did on one of my investment properties. They still have it 100,000 more than what I could have sell it right now. In fact, what I could sell it right now is still 25 grand less. What I could sell for right now is 25 grand less than what I could have sold it 4 months ago when I would have, when I was fighting my property taxes. So it's worth even less. And are they going to drop it next year when I have to go fight the taxes? No, they don't care. Agree. What would you agree? What you said for land is true. Not easy for builders, developers to do extra stuff. Classic example, Double L Ranch is a big brother to Belterra Size, and Dripping Springs developers also have to develop. Yeah, you make it harder for developers to develop and they can't do it. I get it. Like, you can't just build everything, right? Because we don't have the infrastructure for it. So you have to make sure there's infrastructure for these developments. I totally get that, but don't make it more expensive for developers to pass that cost on. And then we're giving, which we'll talk about in a second, we're giving a lot of tax incentives for businesses to move to Austin. But then the people that foot the bill are you and I, not the Samsung or what is it, XP? What is it? Not XP.
NXP.
NXP, which we'll talk about in a second. So there's a lot of development coming, but they want a lot of tax dollars to do that. And when I say tax dollars, they just don't want to give up their tax dollars. So
it's a vicious cycle.
It's like Oprah Winfrey and The Rock saying that they're donating $10 million to Hawaii. And then what they're really doing is they're just asking you to donate. They put together the charity. So that's kind of what it's like.
Still influential,
Right. But they're not putting up $10 million of their own money. They're billionaire and multi-millionaire asking you and I to put up the money. Not that they're putting in the money. They just put together put together the fundraiser for it.
So here's the question then in the comments. Would you rather pay more in taxes on your end or allow tax breaks to corporations to continue having the area grow.
Yeah, it's a fine line. So, I mean, I can complain about both sides of it, right? Because that's what we do on this channel is complain, or I do. So, right. So yeah. So you're right. It's a two-sided coin, right? If we overdevelop and don't have the infrastructure for it, and then we don't have the tax dollars for it, but we're business heavy, which I might as well just bring up the article we're going to talk about, because this is what we're going with this. You're right. You're 100% right. I lost my train of thought. I'm thinking about this article.
There's a couple things. I also brought up the half-acre to 1 acre lots just to see what kind of demand we had, just to sort of answer that question. If I go single family that also has half-acre to 1 acre, we're looking at 1,300 currently active, pending, or closed within the last year. It's really not that many.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not that many. It's kind of interesting. I think people that have land are holding on to it. I think that's really important to note. Posts on social media.
Straight to voicemail. If you could point me in that direction, I would actually love to watch that. Yeah. About moving to Austin. I would love to, because that's going to make a really great video for me. So point me in that direction.
I would speculate that a lot of it is miscommunication or misunderstanding when they made the move.
Yeah. Well, I mean, too, like, anytime you move, and this is kind of why I've made this channel, and this is why I've never sold Austin on my channel. There's times where I talk about the great things about Austin, but I've never sold Austin, because I want people to make an informed opinion, an informed decision when they move to Austin. So does it surprise me that a lot of people regret moving to Austin? Doesn't surprise me at all. That's what I've been trying to tell people the whole time. Make a better informed decision before you decide to move out here. But
I'll sell Austin all day. But again, I mean, we talk about this a lot.
I've selling homes in Austin and selling Austin.
No, selling Austin.
But there's a way to do that where you're just sleazy salesperson, right?
Oh, no. I talk about what I love and the things that I don't. And I've been 37 countries, 40 to 45 states. I've been a lot of places, a lot of different cities. And California is beautiful, but there are a lot of things that are not great about it. And so if people understand where they're going and why they're going there, you can have a really solid quality of life based on what you appreciate in life. In Austin, in a lot of places, you move out into the middle of nowhere. I always like pick on Idaho. You move out into the middle of Idaho and have a wonderful life. What are you going to do out there? If you want to be alone and private by yourself, don't care about food, cook everything, live off the land, go there. It's perfect.
Okay. Google search news, Austin. I really wanted to get to these articles. I spent hours pulling these articles, but this is just as fun. All right. Google search. I'm going to do it right now. Let's just do it for fun. Okay. Austin, California. 10 reasons why Austin is not California of Texas. Oh, here's another one. Sarah, but okay, look, hold on. Let me share. You got to look at your sources too for this. Oh man, that's funny. So, okay. So here's the Google search, right? So I put in Austin, California. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before you go there, I want to pull up Top Mix's comment. Can you do that?
Okay. Top Mix, by the way, good comments. My two big complaints of Austin: taxes and traffic.
Okay. Hold on. Are you saying that California doesn't have traffic?
Or taxes?
Right? Like really think about it. When you're comparing across the board, anywhere that you want to be, is traffic or taxes? Are either of those a concern?
So yes. Oh, I'm still on here. Okay. So so 10 reasons why Austin is not Texas. Who wrote this? The Medium. I would have to get investigate.
Anybody can write it, and they get paid.
Yeah.
For clicks.
Let's see. When did they write this? September 2016. It's before the pandemic. Okay. This one's 5 days ago. written by SF Gate, trying to get people not to leave San Francisco, by the
See,
way.
this is an easy, I don't even have to read the article yet. I mean, I would love to, but California tech transplants unhappy with exodus to Austin, probably because their jobs are like, hey, you got to come back.
Yeah, it could be. This is one of the
Right?
biggest
Probably that
themes in.
simple.
So it says one of the biggest themes in early years of the pandemic was the exodus from San Francisco, given the freedom of work, remote work. Many Bay Area residents chose to move elsewhere. I like how they wrote freedom of remote work. They chose to move other places. And it didn't say is because there's all the reasons why people complain to me that they're leaving, right? It's just because of Corona.
Corona.
You know what I'm saying? They just totally skipped over the fact why people are leaving. Or returned by the cop. So this is in 2021. SFGate interviewed 5 tech professionals in 2021 who left for Austin. Most were charmed by the capital of the Lone Star State, but but it didn't say why they left to begin with. Why did they leave? Why was remote work so important to them? The problem, even as high-profile companies and power brokers like Elon Musk move to the area, I thought I said from there. Okay, the tech scene remains nascent compared to Austin's. All right, I'm done, bro. I'm done.
I mean, it's called SF Gate, right? San Francisco Gate, gateway to what? It's definitely going to be written with a bias.
Yeah. So Haskell says, my boss is from California and says the traffic isn't that bad when compared to California. Still so difficult to impossible to, yeah. I think that
I want to talk about traffic. Look at New York and Chicago. I've spent enough time there to know that Austin is not that bad.
You know, what's great about Austin is becoming a comedy city thanks to Joe Rogan. I'm not going to lie. And this isn't like people are going to be, oh, Joe Rogan. But dude, we were in Dallas 2 weeks ago for the Tom Ferry Summit. I knew 3 people that were leaving. I'm not even kidding. They were leaving the event we were at to drive to Austin the next day to go to the mothership that all they want to do is go check out all the comedy spots. So it's becoming a comedy destination. And if you're not going to Formula One, why not? Okay. Poll. If I were you, saw Ian in public with that shirt, what would you do? Kiss or punch? Oh man, that's funny. I would definitely punch Ian because I know him really well. I'd punch him with my mouth. All right.
I'm passive most of the time.
Passive. I wouldn't punch Ian. I would not punch Ian. All right. So do you want to talk about the Northline, the 116-acre Northline project back on track? Let's do that. Let's go through because I've ranted enough, man. If you want to continue to see me rant in the comments, please write the word rant. If you want us to keep going, put a number 1 down. I don't know. Okay. Just keep the comments going. All right, here we go. So developer details plans for the first office building and the 116-acre Northline. A lot of people thought that this was kind of hung up. So the 116-acre mixed-use development north of Austin, which has effectively been known as the Northline, is in Leander. Here's kind of an idea of where it's at. So it's going to be this section just north of Hero Way. There's really nothing there right now. What's great about this area is you have a lot of shopping right off Hero right here. Costco's in there, HEB, tons of good stuff through here. So a lot of movement. I think so. A lot of people are going to Leander.
I've put a bunch of people in homes over there. And I think that what you have, so right now they're even working on the highway, which is kind of a weird setup. So that will help congestion a little bit. And then the way they're building it, it's like hospital, shopping center, hospital, shopping center. So I think it's a great place for medical field type jobs and small business owners. And then everything else is houses. And so as they put Northline and as they put Leander Springs, if ever that happens, it'll just be a hub like they're trying to do with so many other cities in Austin. But right now it's poised to be one of the fastest growing versions of that hub.
I like the Northline. You know, it just sucks that it's going to not be ready for a little bit, right? Because they've started
they have buildings.
They have buildings.
They're
yeah. So here's what the project's going to look like. So they actually have. So this is a better kind of indication of what you get. So you're going to get retail. There's going to be businesses in there. Like you said, there's hospitals going in there, office spots. They have these row houses that are going in. In fact, they actually have some already complete. I tried to look to see what the prices were, but they're opening up section 2 and 3 now. So it says multifamily. That's the rental, residential. What did it say? Just read this a minute ago. Townhome pre-sales. So the townhomes right now, they said they're going to section 2 and 3 or phase 2 and 3 for pre-sales. But on here did not give any prices, I do not think. So do you know prices on these, Ian?
I don't. I'm going to assume north of 700.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm
with
sure.
a 3 point something tax rate.
Let's see. How big are these things going to be? Oh, it doesn't say first floor, second floor. Interesting.
But also they're going to want you to call them, which is why they're not
of course. I enter in the chat. I want to hear from you. Would you buy in a neighborhood like this? If you're moving to Texas, moving to Austin, would you buy in a neighborhood with row homes, or do you want to buy a home where you have a yard? You tell me in the comments, would something like this interest you? Because that's always my curiosity. I could see people from like, the East Coast that move here and go, oh, this is what I've always known. But then, you and I during the pandemic had a lot of people that did not want anything like we were coming from, right? They wanted to be in nicer areas. They wanted to be in larger homes, finally have yards for their dogs and kids.
Yeah. So I think the question is, if you've been here and you've spent time in Mueller or the Domain frequently, the question becomes, or even just downtown in almost any metropolitan, do you like that vibe? Yeah. And could you live there? Right. Chicago, New York, San Francisco.
I bet if the market was still on fire, those would all be sold. If the market was still moving and people needed homes, like moving like it was like.
Regardless of builder. Like I was like, who the heck is this builder?
Yeah, Zach said that there's a lot of apartments up right now. So, I mean, look, that's, there was a stat I saw not so long ago. It was like 19,000 units were online to be built coming up in the next year. But Austin, for housing, when it came to multifamily, I think they were trying to, by 2035, put 100,000 on the ground. So 19,000 is a big chunk by 2035. So we're still pretty far behind in where we actually really need to be for rentals. But for homes, I would rather be building neighborhoods that were condoized communities. So what I mean is they have these communities, and Ian, I'm talking about. You drive in a community and it looks like regular houses. There's house, yard. Everybody has their own yard, but the lots are a little bit smaller and they're condoized. So you actually don't own, you don't get a survey for your property. So normally when you buy a house, there's a survey. Here's your lines. If your next door neighbor moves a fence over 2 inches, you get to shoot him. It's Texas. I'm just kidding. You don't get to do that, please.
You don't get to move it, but yeah.
So I saw Julian in the comments. I love Julian. So Julian, you got my train of thought off, man. I just did a video highlighting row homes, brownstone and the Woodlands. They rarely come to the market. And when they do, they sell quick. Julian, in that area, in the Woodlands is a really expensive area. If you haven't, go look at Julian's Instagram. He does a really good job of he'll be just driving a regular neighborhood and it'll be like Ferrari, Bentley, Lamborghini Urus, Lambo, Turbo. And he's like, this is the Woodlands on a Saturday afternoon. Range Rover. It's all that oil money down there, right, Julian? Okay, top mix. Ian, why is Leander overhyped? I want to hear from the people. Do you think Leander's overhyped?
I think if you were to look at it right this second today, you heard a lot of buzz and hear a lot of buzz about Leander. And so people would just move there, right? But without understanding the planning that's going into building out Leander, it's hard to see it on the ground right now. Leander is hyped. It's like a good movie that is coming out and you see the trailer, you get really excited for it. And then you go see the movie and everything that was in the trailer is what you see. You've already seen it all. but there is so much more coming. You got to wait for version 2, the sequel and the third one.
Yeah. Dude, Steven, I love when you're bedridden. I'm sorry you're bedridden, but man, I love it because you're just laying in the comments right now. Pun intended.
Walkability. I do like walkability.
People accept the trade-off of density if the location has great walkability. Yard maintenance can sometimes have an appeal. I agree with this 100%. My wife and I, when we first owned a home in Phoenix, it was great because it had a little tiny backyard, but they were literally row homes. It was great for a little bit. And then as we were starting to grow family and, got married and stuff, like it became like, oh, I want a little more space. So I definitely see, you're right. There is an appeal for that. Go ahead, Ian.
I think being able to there's something to paying for a convenience, but the question is, are you paying the same price for that type of home versus having your own space, right? I don't know that everybody goes deep with that math because it might seem like it's less at first glance, or it might even be the same. But where it really scares me or worries me sometimes is if you look at those types of neighborhoods where they're the condo style neighborhoods, you got to find out. And a couple of us have talked about this. You don't necessarily know if there needs to be repairs, let's say on the street lamps or on the streets or on a lot of the other things that are owned by the entire neighborhood. It's a very different type of HOA structure. And it could end up costing more if anything goes wrong. And when I say if anything goes wrong, sure, we haven't had too many major issues, but we've seen a couple snowmageddons, right? We've seen that tornado thing that had come through. So when those types of things happen is when the single family style condos get a little more worrisome to me.
Mm-hmm. Hey Ian, for our event, I'm sorry to do.
No, it's good, man. I know there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we have so much going on. We probably shouldn't have done it Amigos tonight. Will says that his slides are in Canva. Will you be able to open Canva?
Yeah. If he sends it to us now, I can download them and have them ready to roll. Okay, cool. All right, I'll finish that later. Sorry. All right. So can you reiterate, because I was trying to pay attention, what you said about condos? I was just saying that if it's a single family style condo, you're sharing more things than you would with a normal HOA. And so if there's any kind of issues, like with a normal HOA, you might have to worry about something with the pool, right? But in this one, it's not only the pool, it could be the streets, it could be the parks, it could be the street lamps and those sorts of things. So the expenses could get out of hand rather quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One of the ones that we own, I think we pay $180 a month for the HOA, but they do the watering of the yards and they do the mowing of the yards plus the maintenance of the community. So 180 is not that bad. I mean, I would love to push the 180 onto the tenant, but I mean,
that's just the owning portion of it.
Right.
But if something happens is where I'm going with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we have another snowmageddon and all of a sudden some of the street lamps get knocked down, or another tornado and some of the street lamps get knocked down, who's responsible for that? Yeah. Because it's a condo regime, the people that bought into the condo are going to own portions of that.
Right. Pay for it. Yeah. So like prime example, I had a fourplex, or it was actually 2 fourplexes in Sal Padre. We had a condo rental there and they wanted to repaint the whole thing, and they had a bunch of stucco work. I mean, that was $5,000 we had to pay as a special assessment. So what you're talking about are special assessments. And yeah, we had to pay $5,000 each out of pocket to cover this paint job. It was well needed. I mean, the place looked amazing when it was done, but I can imagine people that would buy a condo that go, hey, I don't have $5,000 for this. And then they're stuck with a special assessment that adds to the monthly. So
another thing that I'm going to throw in there, and you see this a lot in like Gerald and a few other places, when they do these, they not only shrink the yards, but they shrink the width of the streets. They remove a lot of the ability to park on the street. You have to park in someone's driveway or a dedicated parking spot. So you lose some of these conveniences of having your own single family spot. You still get a garage, but your driveway can barely fit a full car, right? Unless it's a Yaris. Do those still exist? A Yaris? You remember those? Something like that. Maybe a Mini Cooper.
I would not drive a Yaris personally. It's just too small for me. I used to be fat. I've lost 40 pounds. So that's me. All right. Oh, so hey, I want to get to this next story, Ian. I want to get your take on this. So Whataburger is now going to do. Where'd you go? Here. First exclusively digital Whataburger opens up in Austin. So this actually opened up in Bee Cave. So it's all done with robots. There's not a single person in there. It's all robots. Your burritos, your tacos, everything your hamburgers are all getting made with robots. No, I'm just kidding. So it's basically a total cashless establishment. They said they're going to have 50 employees in there, but it's all cashless. I mean, basically you have a walk-up window where you order outside. I find it interesting. I like that they're a digital kitchen. So they like digitally print your burgers, but it's interesting as people push for, higher living wages, they just put more robots in place.
Right. Less people.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're going to complain about the wages. We'll just get rid of you.
Yeah. So It says there's no dining room at the cashless digital location. However, the restaurant is staffed with 50 employees. At first I thought, man, 50 employees, that's a lot for cashless. But I mean, if you're thinking about, 10 employees out there, shifts per day, 50 employees doesn't sound like very many. I'm sure most restaurants have more than 50 employees. I don't know. Have you ever worked in a Whataburger?
No, I was going to, no, God.
I was saying in the comments, not to you.
Oh, okay.
Has anybody ever worked at a Whataburger and say,
oh my goodness. So anybody who's worked at a restaurant, what is a standard staff requirement for a week? 100?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, because you have to cook burgers and run cash machines and all that is good stuff. Aaron says, "Can you give me a real estate license? Because I said special assessment. He's a special adjustment." All right. What are we doing, people? Is the housing market that bad that we started to sell feet pics on OnlyFans? It's on OnlyFeet, I think. Isn't that what it's called? Feet Finder, something like that. Yeah. What's up, Dinosaur D? Welcome back.
Feet fans only.
Feet fans only. Yeah. Straight to voicemail says, all fun aside, let's keep it real. The Texas affordability story is a long game. Nothing Texas did wrong. Just markets correcting the hype. Nothing new. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Hold on. He said the affordability story is long gone. So what is affordable in Texas today? We just pulled up last week and a little bit today we talked about it, how there are plenty of homes less than 400,000. Now, don't get me wrong. Love to see them less than 200. I mean, I don't know if I'd love that. But there are homes in San Antonio for probably 250 that are decent enough, right? So we've got them here in the Austin metro for sub 400,000, and under the right circumstance, if you find the right seller, you can get it for less than that. So I'm not saying it's affordable. I'm saying it's a lot better opportunity than people were getting last year and the year prior.
Steven says, is it me or did Whataburger get way worse after that Chicago
ruins everything.
Yeah, it does.
That's why I left.
Yeah, they should stick to pizzas.
And then they bought Whataburger.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what does this say? Steven says, Crescent Commons condo regime in East Austin just call a special assessment when you have 30 roofs to repair, prolonged damage. Yep. So that was going back to that last comment. Straight to voicemail says, Texas has become trending liberal, shockingly. So I would say Austin has always been, if you look at the voting rule records for Austin, it's always been like 73 to 76%. So
most metros are in Texas are like that, right? Houston's like that. Not San Antonio. Dallas is kind of on the fence still.
Hey, look, you got a lot of Californians moving back potentially. So maybe things will move back. I don't know. I'm staying out of politics. Another election or two in Texas will have a much bigger crisis. We'll see. I like this one too. And that's the thing. Brandon's really right on this. In-N-Out is way better than Whataburger. I literally just went to, I had my son have baseball practice, and we have a property in South Austin that we're about to list. And so I had to go check it out. On the way back, I'm like, Braden, do you want to go to Whataburger or In-N-Out? He's like, is that a question? In-N-Out, baby. I love it. Trust you guys to know where to find the best feet pics for sure.
Well, we're supplying some of them too.
Yeah. I mean, I took a picture of my feet on the scale and put it on Instagram, and I instantly got $20 sent to my account. So it was crazy.
I'm not going to show you, but I've got my feet exposed right now. Ooh.
Oh, get
I'm
the
not going to show you.
wind touching your feet, huh? So in my case, Texas is still very affordable, is what Aaron is saying. Going back to your thing, we keep bouncing around. It's okay. I probably wouldn't say very, but still affordable.
I
Agreed.
mean, again, it's always relative to what you're either used to or what your expectation
Yeah.
is.
You know, it's funny. So, well, it's not really funny, but if we talk about the overpriced and terrible cities that people are of, let me step back. When most people talk about the dirty, ugly cities, right? They usually talk about these really
Houston.
expensive cities, right? So they talk about San Francisco, LA. Austin has been rolled into that because everyone thought that Austin was super affordable. When prices shot up to what I feel is more of a representation of what Austin prices should have been from the beginning, what you're getting in this city. I would say now, not when they got up that high. I think everybody agrees that they got up really high, but where they are now, I think is a better representation of like cost of living in Austin. Now, if interest rates weren't at 7% and they were at 4%, people wouldn't be crying as much about unaffordability in Austin. They would still be buying because that $1,300 a month payment, you drop that down to $1,800 a month payment, $3,000 a month. Sorry, $3,000 a month payments now back down to $1,800 a month. So interest rates really have in and out. See, thank you, Stephen. Is way better in the West. Distribution centers are closer. Yeah, I agree. It's I used to live. I lived in Phoenix, and I lived in California, and I always thought In-N-Out was good. And, you know, when I was younger, and then I moved to Phoenix, went to Arizona State. Yep. And that happened. And I loved In-N-Out. And then I moved to San Diego, and then I loved In-N-Out even more. I don't eat In-N-Out as much here in Austin, but I am on a diet as well. No sugar, no wheat, no alcohol.
In-N-Out does animal style, protein style. So you can just get lettuce wraps on the burger.
I did that.
I've done that forever. It's delicious.
I did that on Saturday. It was fantastic. Is P. Terry's any good? Yes, their fries suck.
What?
I hate their fries. I think their fries.
I don't typically like fries, but I thought their fries were okay. I thought they were pretty good. Compared to Whataburger, everything.
So I have to admit, I'm going to raise my hand and say I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't like P. Terry's. I was that Californian that said, "Oh, In-N-Out's way better than P. Terry's. This is gross." P. Terry's, they opened one up in Dripping Springs. I've been frequenting that place. It's better than I thought it was. It's still not better than In-N-Out. Still not better, but I had to give it a lot more credit where credit's due. You know what I'm saying? I got to put P. Terry's, In-N-Out, Whataburger. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I could see where people would put P. Terry's over In-N-Out. Fries will make or break. Agree. All right. We're at an hour, but I had this whole topic that I wanted to go through with this. So we'll go through this real quick. We'll just do another 10 minutes. So this is why we titled the video the way I did. What's the plan for Austin's economy growers now? So there's this group in Austin. They run about a almost $40 million a year plan to grow Austin and get developments and developers to come here. They were part of the group that got Oracle and Tesla and Samsung to come here in the 90s. So these are the people that are really trying to get a lot of these businesses. What they're saying in this article makes a lot of sense. So as Austin got Samsung back in the 90s and other businesses started coming here, other municipalities from around the country would come and look and meet with them to figure out what they were doing. And so now it's harder for Austin to allure some of these people. I think there was a data factory or whatever that went to Ohio or Cincinnati, somewhere like that last year that was looking at Austin. So you have a lot of these businesses that had been looking at Austin are now getting pulled away. So what this article basically goes through and talks about is all the challenges they run into. Obviously they talk about the market, but as the market as a whole, they say the market price is dropping and actually does a lot for these businesses that are coming here. So expect to see even more businesses moving to the Austin area because affordability is slightly better. Again, 7.3% interest rates are really what's making it more unaffordable than anything. But what they're saying is that they had 142% increase in growth since they really started luring a lot of these semiconductors here. So what's interesting is you have I think it was Biden and Harris that passed that CHIPS. Was that right, Ian? Was that the Biden-Harris administration that passed the CHIPS Act to try to get some of these chip makers here in the United States? So what they're talking about is they're really still trying to lure a lot of these people. We just they got rid of at the end of last year, the tax incentives for businesses. They just have a new version of that this year. So they're still trying to woo people here. The biggest problem that they're running into in Austin, and this is why I really, really laughed at that article about the Bay Area, was the fact that their biggest complaint for Austin and the growth of Austin is three things. Number one, good labor that can work some of these higher tech paying jobs. So the talent pool for that. Secondly, infrastructure of Austin. So as they're trying to bring these businesses here, Austin itself is not the one trying to lure and give the tax incentives, which will go to my next little article here. It's the cities around Austin that are doing it. So that's why we saw Samsung go to Taylor, which is Williamson County. There was questions earlier about Disney, right? So we talked about Disney going to Gerald. We found out that that's going to be a big community, whatever they're doing over there. It's a community. It's not that. But if you look, Elon Musk is building a lot more stuff in Bastrop County. They are moving stuff to Del Valley. So it's really the east side of Austin where we're seeing this development. Kyle is seeing a lot of the development for these. So it's not necessarily Austin itself that's wooing these people in. It's the counties around Austin. And then it was talking about how San Antonio is stealing a lot of this business as well, because San Antonio has the opportunity to continue to grow. So we've been talking about San Antonio. We have really good referral partners that we work with at our company here in San Antonio, not San Diego. But yeah, so those are the things that really hold up Austin. It's the jobs, getting actual good quality people here that can work those jobs. Not that they're not good quality, but just qualified. And then the traffic are like the two biggest issues for them to get people here. And the affordability was one. They said it's come down. What are your thoughts on that, Ian? Did I drink? What? Never drank?
We're talking about you doing hard drugs.
Oh yeah.
In the chat, I think is. Oh my gosh. Oh, the chat. I didn't hear a word you said, but I know that it was good.
It's like 10 minutes now, bro. Yeah, bro. I'm telling you, you lose 40 pounds. Your wife won't leave you alone.
I'm telling you.
He can still do hard drugs though, right? No. According to LinkedIn, hiring in Austin is down 20. Yeah, this is right. Lower than last year. But that's again, so that stat is a little skewed as well, because I'll go ahead, Ian.
Well, I was just going to ask, is that in comparison to other places that are considered growth cities, right? So like if you look at Austin compared to North Carolina, compared to like Boulder or some of these other places, Iowa, I think is one of them, Seattle, like is the hiring similarly down in those cities? That would be my question. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, and the question is, where compared to other cities, how much are other cities down? That's the question, because companies are being told that we're going to see a massive recession. The amount of to borrow money to keep companies afloat has gone from a really low price to now, what's the Fed fund rate? Like 5.5%, 6.5%, whatever it is now. So in order to borrow the money to keep these businesses afloat, it's a lot more expensive. So that's part of the reason. What is it in the Bay Area? What is it in these other areas? You still have big businesses moving here. I mean, here's the next thing.
No next thing.
Yeah, no, I was trying. It just wasn't clicking. So here's NXP. NXP is looking for more incentives. So NXP Semiconductor is seeking incentives from city as it considers further investment in Austin. So NXP, I want to say NXP, one of their, I think it was NXP. They had a building that UT owned, and UT took it back so they could sell it or do something with it. So they lost a location here. So they're still looking for a location for this. I think it was NXP. I may be wrong on that. But look, you have NXP going after those incentives. You're talking about 140 million 10-year tax break, but it's still going to bring a significant amount of jobs. And so this is what I'm saying is you have Austin becoming the semiconductor hub for a lot of these businesses. Now, is that going to bring a ton of jobs? I would hope so, but I don't think it's going to bring a ton of jobs. So Austin still needs to be pretty diverse in who they're bringing here.
Yeah, I'm always so curious, especially with something like semiconductors. And I think Aaron schooled me on this one. How many of these jobs need to have people local, specifically semiconductor, right? Because a lot of it, I mean, you've got manufacturing, and then you have, like IP, white collar type stuff. Not much in between. It is recorded.
Yeah, this is going back out live. Atlanta, Austin, Boston, Chicago. So it doesn't really give me anything other than the cities. Yeah. So NXP to Southwest. So nothing in East. Yeah, I don't know what this was. It was a response to my question about the other cities. I mean, if all these other cities are seeing that low, then it's on par with what everybody else is doing.
I was going to say, you look at Cleveland, come on, Cleveland, Chicago. I do not see those outpacing the growth of Austin. I mean,
yeah,
relative growth.
One thing that was in this article, Ian, that I thought was interesting is this is not the NXP one, the opportunity one. So one thing that it said in here that's pretty interesting is among the warning signs is the amount of vacant office space, affordability changes, and waning real estate market. Although he admits that the latter had to come to normalize companies, and people are also avoiding historically vibrant areas like downtown. So he basically said people are moving more towards like Round Rock and Dripping Springs versus moving downtown. And that's just because people are tired of things in downtown. So interesting information there. Let's see. Remember, Ian has a golden doodle. We still love you, Ian. I have a golden doodle too.
I was going to say, I think he's trying to suppress my masculinity. And I'm like, I can lift double my body weight in every capacity. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Well, bro, you're like 90 pounds soaking wet. Come on.
That's okay. It's relative. It's relative. I can throw a full-grown person pretty easily.
All right. Ian, as always, you get the last word, man.
I still think that